the world never ceases to be amazed at the cruelty of Nazism. So what kind of people were the Nazis of the Third Reich? And what kind of hidden passions and entertainments did they have? First of all, we will talk about the very top, the Nazi leaders, since everyone else was under their thumbs. Let's start with the Nazi number 1, Hitler. Adolf Hitler Schicklgruber was born in the Austrian town of Braunau. The second surname of his parental grandmother, Adolf Hitler, was attributed by many historians, since his father, Alois Hitler or Gidler, had it in childhood and was an illegitimate child. Alois Hitler, according to some documents, this name was pronounced as Gidler, which really depends on the dialect region. In different parts of Austria and Germany, the same last name can be pronounced with both hard and soft consonants. Alois Hitler made a career of a customs official. Hitler's father was half Jewish on his mother's side. Subsequently, Alois was adopted by his uncle, who gave him his last name. Adolf Hitler himself was never a Schicklgruber, since he was born in a legal marriage from the father of an official of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and was Hitler from birth. At the same time, he was a quarter Jewish and a child of incest, because Hitler's mother, Clara Pelzel, was not only 20 years younger than her father and was his third wife, but also was his niece. All in all, the enemy of humanity had quite a complicated origin, and he himself was not an easy person in almost every way. Hitler was full of contradictions from his youth. He dreamed of becoming an artist, but studied to become an architect, because architects at that time earned more. He loved his younger sister, and he was completely indifferent to his younger brother, who, however, did not live long. He had mistresses among women, and at the same time lovers among young men. It is believed that Hitler's first close contact was homosexual. His first lover was the young artist August Kubizek, and Hitler's idol was quite suitable, King Frederick II of Prussia, an ardent misogynist and a homosexual, which was well known at that time to all European courts. Throughout his life, Hitler was against homosexuality and was in favor of legal marriage. But in fact, he himself had lovers and mistresses all his life. Many of his mistresses committed suicide, and no one really knows what he did with them there. However, some of Hitler's mistresses managed to leave fragmentary memories of their relationship with the future Führer of the German nation. In these memoirs, Hitler appears as both a sadist and a masochist, depending on his mood. He subjected his intimate partners to humiliation, but sometimes he demanded to be humiliated himself. Ernst Rome. The second famous Nazi, who was at one time Nazi number 2, Ernst Rome, in fact was openly gay. He never hid his lust for young people. He was especially fond of boys and was also an avid pedophile. They say that many Nazi officials who later occupied important positions in Germany passed through the hands of Rome. That is why the SS chiefs were in the future interested in eliminating such an unwanted witness. Rome met Hitler in 1920. In the same year, he joined the party created by the future Führer. He never hid his sympathy for Adolf. Rome did a lot for the formation and strengthening of the NSDAP. At one time, he was Hitler's right hand, but at the same time, he was quite willful and not always obedient. In addition, his openly depraved lifestyle came into clear contradictions with the principles that Nazi Party verbally promoted. For a combination of reasons, Ernst Rome became a victim of the Night of the Long Knives. And even before his very death, he was found with a boy in bed, like many others SA leaders. Other leaders. Another unconventional figure of Nazism was Rudolf Hess, not to be confused with Rudolf Hess, the commandant of Auschwitz. He was the Führer's closest associate. Moreover, the word closest here should be understood literally. Until the very end, Hess was the secret lover of his patron and enjoyed his favor accordingly. In Hitler's inner circle, his associates gave Hess the nickname Fräulein Anna, which apparently was not a coincidence. Another Nazi number 2, Hermann Göring, was not only a known connoisseur of art, luxury and delicious food, the chief pilot of the Reich was not averse to spending time with young girls. At the same time, he did not forget to pretend to be an exemplary and vigilant family man. However, Göring was by no means some kind of giant either mentally or sexually. Percodeine tablets, A drug containing morphine helped him stay in shape. In other words, Germany's second Nazi was, simply put, a drug addict. Another figure of Nazism was Robert Ley, head of the organizational department of the NSDAP and leader of the German Labor Front. At the same time, he was an alcoholic and a depraved person. Wherever he appeared, as a rule, he demanded the delivery of girls of easy virtue. They say that one day he showed up at a brothel, dragging his wife with him, and ordered the woman to entertain them both. Hitler used to laugh when he was told about the drunken shenanigans of the associate, and he forgave him a lot. But let's talk now about the main propagandist of Germany, Hitler's friend and ally, Goebbels. He, of course, was not an exemplary family man, for he was a terrible womanizer. This did not in any way prevent the chief propagandist of the Reich from having 6 children. Like all Nazi leaders, he of course portrayed himself as a loving and exemplary husband. True, they say that he really was a gentle and attentive husband to his Magda, which did not stop him from not letting a single pretty pair of legs pass him by in his department. Goebbels also did not disdain Slavic women, who are famous for their beauty. Once he received a scolding from Hitler himself for disgraceful Aryan connection with a Czech actress. But Hitler valued Goebbels very much and was confident in his personal devotion to the Führer, which little Joseph demonstrated more than once and until the very last day of the war. Therefore, Goebbels managed to avoid serious punishment, and it would be completely unfair to punish the womanizer for these minor mischiefs compared to the rest of his colleagues from the top of the NSDAP. Another Nazi, Reinhard Heydrich, head of the Imperial Security Service, predecessor of Kaltenbrunner and Gauleiter of Bohemia and Moravia, a leader in the destruction of the representatives of non-Aryan race. He was quite a strange individual. A sailor, a pilot, and a counterintelligence officer, all in one person. And also he was a musician. They say he played the violin and piano well. By character, he really was a true Aryan, fearless and merciless towards the enemies of the Reich. It was he who came up with the idea and development of the Gleiwitz incident, which became the formal reason for Germany to unleash aggression against Poland and the Second World War. He led the actions of the SS, SA and Hitler Youth militias during Kristallnacht. This is despite the fact that Heydrich himself also had Semitic impurities, which he of course vehemently denied. Otherwise, the official biography, like that of all Nazi leaders, is quite ordinary. Married, 4 children, athlete, which was true, etc. However, like most famous Nazi, there was a flip side of the coin. Heydrich cheated on his wife. And that wouldn't be so bad, since it was almost the norm for the Nazi elite. However, he cheated on her not only with women, and sometimes with 2 at once, but also with men. It is impossible not to mention Heydrich's immediate superior, Heinrich Himmler, SS man number 1. A diligent student from his youth, he suffered from indigestion and chronic gastritis, and with age also hypertension and weather dependence. Himmler began his Nazi career with the acquaintance with Ernst Rome, who, as we remember, was partial to handsome young men and launched the careers of many prominent SS men. One of these was Heinrich Himmler, who later took an active part in the destruction of his former protege, who apparently knew too much. The acquaintance was probably accidental. Young Himmler cohabitated with a prostitute who was 7 years older than him, and earned money for her craft, so to say, for the whole family. And since their unofficial family consisted only of 2 people, it means that Himmler was also a gigolo. The prostitute in the early 20s jumped out of a window. However, the police had reason to believe that Himmler had a hand in this. That is, he helped the girl. Otherwise, why would he have gone into hiding? It was then that Rome appeared on his way, providing all possible assistance to the young talent and shielding him from police persecution. Already in 1923, Himmler met Hitler for the first time, and from that moment on, his career took off dramatically. Whether the future SS chief had the same close relationship with the Führer as with Rome, history is silent. But one can suspect that the fascist leader had his eye on the young, aspiring Nazi not only because of his abilities at work. Himmler has everything the same as the rest of the Nazis: an exemplary family and mistresses with prostitutes on the side. By the way, it was Himmler who became the originator of the creation of an artificial woman, Project Borgeld. That's what the Nazi leader called the creation of an artificial woman for the marching needs of the German army. It was supervised by Himmler personally. The artificial silicone lady was supposed to look like a true Aryan, be foldable, and fit in a backpack during a march. Hungarian actress Kat von Nagy became a prototype of this invention, whose appearance the Nazis planned to use to create their Borgeld. Several dozens of these dolls were even tested in the field, and the first testers were the fascist leaders themselves. However, in the army, Borgeld did not have success, since it was not very convenient to carry her around in the field, and even more so in combat conditions. By the way, at the beginning the Nazis banned nudism, but then they sharply changed their attitude and promoted it in every possible way. In general, if to summarize the activities of the Nazi elite, one can get the impression that we deal here with not entirely adequate characters. In fact, many suffered from manic symptoms. Almost everyone was on cocaine and morphine-containing drugs, including Hitler himself, who was given daily injections by his personal physician Theodor Morell with oxycodone and cocaine-containing drugs. The Reich's leaders also drugged the Wehrmacht and SS troops, who were given pills to increase stamina and counteract fatigue. What crazy ideas did not Nazi leaders come up with while being on drugs? For example, poisoning Churchill with chocolate and candies. The British Prime Minister loved not only cognac and cigars, but also sweets. And why not breed drought-resistant mosquitoes that could spend many days without water, traveling long distance and carrying all kinds of infections? A project specifically designed for Russia and Africa. Another crazy idea was artificially breeding Aryan children. For this purpose, they kidnapped healthy children from occupied countries and lightened their hair and tried to change their eye color using various drugs, etc. In a word, we are dealing with examples of extremely ruthless people, but at the same time they were quite capable of taking responsibility for their actions. Many answered for their atrocities in international and national courts. Unfortunately, not all of them. However, the judgment of history is inexorable, and no one has yet managed to escape it.